everyone. My name is Dr. Burton, which I don't use very much, so I usually just use my first name for since I've got my PhD. Kind of want to make this as informal as possible since a lot of things have changed over the last couple of weeks as far as dealing with this coronavirus. So, for though I've met a few of the young ladies from doing research proposal and research papers. Um, just a brief history about myself. I got my PhD over at Clark Atlanta University, 2017. I got my master's from Alabama A&M University and my bachelor's at Oakwood University back in '96. I'm currently at Emory School of Medicine, specifically Winship Cancer Institute, working on cancer metastasis as a postdoctoral fellow. Um, One day I hope to have my own lab doing my own research, but um, even before getting my PhD, I spent 20 plus years teaching and mentoring students to go into graduate schools, whether it be dental, medical, wherever they wanted to go. So I kind of want to use this time, I'm not going to use up all of your time, to have like a question and answer period. I believe there's a chat box if you want to put your questions there. Also, you can raise your hand if you just want to ask a question about graduate school. Um, and I believe there was another Dr. Blackson. If you also want to chime in on anything, please feel free. So does anyone have any questions to start off with? Or if you just want to put them in the chat box, that's fine.
Did you say that, oh, hi, I'm Brooke Taylor. I'm a sophomore biology major. And I was wondering, you said that you were at Emory School of Medicine, or what was it?
Yes.
Okay.
So wait. Currently I'm a postdoctoral fellow. So a postdoc, basically I have my PhD, I'm working on training. So that's your postdoctoral fellow is kind of like your medical residency. So you're training in someone else's lab, doing research, trying to develop your own project so that one day soon you can have your own lab continuing research, that type of stuff right now.
Okay.
And if you can't hear me very well, let me know. Any questions about graduate schools, or I can throw out some questions so I get to see where you guys are thinking. I know Brooke just told me she's a sophomore, of where you guys want to go as far as your graduate studies.
Hi, I'm Auntie, I'm a junior. And I was gonna ask, how did you decide that you wanted to go to Emory?
Well, that's a long story within itself. I've always wanted to go to Emory from way back when I was growing up in New Jersey. But I want to say something about it's just myself. I thought Emory was always out of my reach because Emory didn't accept students who looked like me for a very long time. So eventually, I guess throughout time, the person who was mentoring me over at Clark, she went to Emory for her postdoc. And I said, well, it's a chance. I took the chance and I applied for the positions over there, and I ended up 30 some years later at Emory, which has always been my dream. So that's kind of how I ended up there. Anyone else? I don't see. So I think this, I don't mispronounce anybody's name, says Takaya. What has been your most rewarding character being graduate school experience? My most rewarding character developing, the most character developing experience has been to show people that I belong. There's a lot of what they call imposter syndrome in my field, especially for what I want to do is basically research academics. Sometimes you don't feel like you belong there, but the more I do my research, the more I speak up in front of groups who it's mainly men or very few women, and my thoughts and my ideas are taken, it makes me feel like I belong, which develops my strength and my self-esteem in this career that I'm going through. Okay. My typical day, like a graduate student, it's the same as now. My typical day, I'm a morning person, and for graduate school, depending on what year you're in, your first 2 years, most people are still taking classes. And so you're not into the research room. So you do classes daily, you might do some rotations in different labs. But by like your third or fourth year, you're in the lab all the time. So my day started around 6 a.m. And from 6 a.m. to about 3, I delved into research. I delved into writing. I always made a schedule for myself. So after 3 o'clock was my time. And for me, I did teach while I was in graduate school. So in the evenings, I also taught. So I'm gonna answer this question. It says, can I give a brief overview of my path from undergrad to grad to postdoc? Let's see. So my undergrad started way back when in 1996. I finished Oakwood College, and I had applied to go to medical school, but my senior year, I took a couple of courses that all went together. So I took gross anatomy, it was cell and molecular biology, biochemistry, and general physiology. And the way we taught it was each system that we were in, let's say we were talking about the nervous system, it responded to the course that we were in, and it piqued my interest. And one of my professors said, well, if it piqued your interest, maybe try graduate school. So I did end up going to Temple University for a post-bac program. And after I did that post-bac program, I said, I need to know more about biology. There's no way you can learn all this stuff about biology and what you want to do in your bachelor's. So after Temple University, I did my master's in anatomy and physiology at Alabama A&M. And then I stopped and I said, I need to make some money to pay for if I want to do even more schooling, or I just basically was tired of school. So I taught for about 10 years, and I said it's time to finish my career path. And that career path took me a little bit differently. I actually went to osteo school, and I did get a medical degree, but I never wanted to practice medicine. So after I got that degree, I never said, nope, I don't want to practice, because my goal is kind of do what I want to do now is academic medicine. And the one to train the students, more so the one, delving out, things for patients. If you read some articles, there are not many African Americans who are teaching in the classroom in medical schools. So that's the career path I'm on. So after I did my medical school degree, I went back and taught for a little bit longer. And then I said, there's more that I want. So I did go back and get the PhD portion. And then since my PhD portion, after I finished that, for academic medicine, the point that you want are papers. So while doing my PhD, I did have a couple of grants that allowed me to publish at least 12 papers. And most people who have done the proposal and research capable things with, they'll tell you that papers are your currency. So one thing, Emory is a top tier research institution. Without all those papers, I don't think I would have gotten to Emory to do a postdoc, but I think that's what led me to getting to a postdoc position over at Emory, as far as my path. And then right now, well, things are a little different. My postdoc is coming near to an end, so I'm currently on the job market looking for either a position as a professor or even as a research scientist to continue on my research.
So how,
someone,
sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just wondering, I feel like you said it already, but you said you didn't practice at all before you realized that you wanted to be, you wanted to go a different route. Like you didn't practice any medicine?
I never wanted to practice because my goal is to teach at a medical school, but I also want the experience of my students. So I decided, well, let me go through the medical school experience so that, you know, when I'm mentoring students, especially minorities at, we call predominantly white institutions, if that's where I end up, I can help them along their journey instead of what I saw when most people come into a classroom of medical professionals. It's just they have their MD, they have their PhD, they're just running out of the classroom. So I wanted to be able to be a little bit more personal with my students as I go further along in my career.
Okay. So would you?
You froze, Brooke.
Teach at a medical school particularly, or it doesn't matter like where you want?
It doesn't matter to me. I do want to be at maybe a research institution. They have different tiers. Want to do a research institution. It's more so that if that's a direction somebody wants to go down the line, because we need more minorities in the classroom. That's kind of why I went that direction.
Okay. Thank you.
Uh-huh. So Victoria Eaton asks, why did you decide to get your master's versus getting your PhD right after undergrad? There was no real reason. The program that I chose, there was no PhD connected to it. So I just got my master's in anatomy physiology because it's where I was interested in. And from there, whatever happened. I had more goals in mind, like med school, like getting my PhD. So for me, because I wanted those things, there was no timeline. They were always going to be there for me. So I decided when I was going to go, how I was going to go, based on what I wanted to do, not the normal timeline. So most people say, hey, after undergrad, I have to get my master's, or I have to go straight to medical school. I have to go straight and get my PhD. If it's for you, it's going to happen. There's no immediate timeline to say that you have to go that path, go that way directly. Figure out what you really want and not what somebody else wants for you as you're going through your career choices.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? I know there were some more in the box. I think I answered this question. It's from Vanessa Eaton. She's a junior biology major. Did you do a residency in medical school since you didn't want to practice medicine? No, I did not do a residency. If I wanted to down the line, I probably could, but my goal was never, ever to practice medicine. My goal was to be an academic medical person. So that means basically the professor in the classroom. And
I think that is very admirable that you went through medical school to become more relatable to your students. Even though you didn't want to practice, because that's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot, but when you realize it's a lot, but it was worth it. It's also knowing more information on different topics in biology. because I knew also research was something I wanted to do, and I don't want to be stuck one-sided in my research. Yes, I do cancer research right now, but I can also do other topics using other skills from other subjects. Okay. Armani has her hand raised.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm a junior psychology major, and I wanted to know, how do you make the best first impressions when reaching out to recruitment teams from graduate schools?
The best first impression. How you make an impression, anything that you do. So if you're saying you just want to talk to someone, who's on a research team, it's all about how you develop your email. You don't want to use common slang. Now you guys have the internet now, so you can look up anything, but you can email them and say, you want to speak with them about the admissions process. It's just making small contact without being, how can I say, a bother to those type of people. Most people realize you can approach people who are on like these admissions teams without giving away the hint that I want to go to your school. You may want to know more about what they have. It's just like, say, you can also ask them, hey, I want to go out for coffee or something, or just go somewhere, and if you can take the time to call me back and talk to me about your school because I'm interested, that gives a first impression to somebody to say, this person, oh, I've talked to them before. They might be interested in coming to the school just because you made first early contact. Is a good way to make a good first impression.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any other questions? I saw some more in the chat box. Typical day. So this question, what is my current research topic focus, and was it difficult for you to narrow down a specific topic of interest? So I don't know if everyone can see my virtual background, and I picked that for a reason. That is part of my research, and that is actually some of the research that I'm doing now called circulating tumor cells. And circulating tumor cells are basically put into the blood from shedding tumors. And as far as my research topics, I've had many different ones, and they've all centered around one thing called cancer metastasis. My topics were chosen based on also personal. I have a lot of family members who have cancer or who've had cancer. So I'm interested in saying, well, how does this work? And then also what I'm interested in, I don't know if any of you guys have parents like this, I have parents in the West Indies, and they believe natural products, there's a tea for everything. I combine my research of cancer metastasis and natural products to see if those things that they're actually trying to use while they're at home instead of being able to go for their treatments work on cancer metastasis. So that's kind of how I came up with my different topics, and I use that across different cancers. So I've done it with prostate, I've done it with breast cancer. Right now I work with lung cancer. So my topics come from what I have experienced. That's how I got my research topics. First impressions. I think I got all the questions in the chat box so far. Does anyone have anything else they want to know about? As far as graduate school, has anybody started applying to graduate schools? I know I saw some juniors. I don't know if there's any seniors in here. I have a question. What advice would you would I give myself as an undergrad if you could go back? I don't know. One thing, no, I don't. What advice could I give myself as an undergrad I learned now? Don't be intimidated by anybody. You are who you are. You know what path you want to go on. Continue down that path. Don't let anything discourage you. So keep going. Because if that's your dream will always come true no matter what it is. That's the advice I'd give myself. Okay. What qualities attracted me most to the different graduate schools you chose? Well, I know for my PhD program for Clark Atlanta, it was the size. Didn't want to get lost in the system because for some graduate schools, if you have like, say for your PhD, 50 people in the program, that's a lot of people. I wanted more personal approach. So I chose Clark Atlanta. I think they took at that time 8 people into the program, which mainly meant I had more time with my mentor. For Emory, I chose them based on name. I chose them based on name for their grants because that's also an important thing for you to get through. For Emory, they're one of the top tiers who get out high-ranking NIH grants. And so that's kind of what my selfless reason for helping to choose them. I want to be able to put out those grants, and having the name Emory on my CV is very important. And for they don't have it anymore. I chose Alabama A&M because I wanted to do anatomy and physiology masters, and a lot of people have that as a degree. So that's why I chose those different schools as I did my graduate studies. And for my osteopathic program, I chose the school I went to because they were new and very accepting of non-traditional students. So it was my reason for choosing them. Anyone have anything else they want to know about? And I've got some private questions. Make sure I'm getting them all. So let me pose a question to the group. What graduate studies, if anybody wants to answer, are you guys interested in going into or you've thought about doing?
Hello, my name is Amina Johnson. I'm a sophomore biology major, and I am interested in getting a PhD in either developmental biology or cellular and molecular biology.
Okay. So one piece of advice I can give everyone, whatever career field you're thinking about going into, find somebody who has gone through that career, they've already gotten their PhD, and make contact with them, finding out what their path was, what you would need to do to get on that path. And that person can also become a mentor for you as you're going through your same career path. Because one thing a lot of people don't think of, you can contact a lot of people and they want to help. You just have to be able to put the foot forward of saying, I want to basically follow you. So find that person. If you want to be a physician scientist, find someone who would be willing to walk you down that path as you're going down that path, no matter what degree you want to get to. I want to ask a question. Besides working and financing my graduate programs, did you receive outside funding as well? Yes, I did. For my master's, I did not pay for that. Someone else paid for it. I think my PI, she paid for everything plus a stipend. Medical school I had to pay for through loans, but I also worked, so I was able to pay for some of that. My PhD, I think my last 3 years I had a grant, so that was funded outside. And then for my postdoc, it's kind of like basically a job, so I get a stipend. I don't have to take any classes. The one good thing about Emory, as far as a postdoc, you also need professional development. So they offer a lot of free classes that I can take to keep my education up. Okay. Anything else from anybody? Don't be shy. I know you guys are not. Any other questions from anyone? Nope, I see something in the chat. Relationship with your mentors and how to maintain good ones and how to let go if one is not good. So my current mentor is a very busy person. So depending on when you get into your postdoc, most of the time, the person who is your mentor probably has a lot of high priority things to do. Like mine, he is the department chair, one of the, directors of Winship. So we barely see him. So our relationship is mainly a email here, email there. I might see him once a month. But as a postdoctoral fellow, you're kind of expected to know more, so you don't need as much mentoring. But I do depend on my graduate school mentor a lot. So we do keep in contact, especially since I'm still in Atlanta. We have a great relationship. We still bounce ideas off of each other. We plan on writing a grant once I finish my postdoc. So even my entire committee, I still come and give talks to where they are at. So one was at Georgia Tech. I come talk to his students about writing research papers. So those relationships are the best. I have them for a lifetime. That's the second half of the question. And I have to let go if one is not good. I haven't had any. One thing about me for mentors, I basically scope them out. I asked a whole bunch of questions about my mentors. I was not going to choose somebody who would not have my best, the best intentions for me. So that's one thing. When I chose them and even developed the relationship, that's what we talked about. If I felt as if they weren't good for me, I did not choose them. So for me, mentoring means we both have to have the same vision that I have for myself. If not, I wasn't choosing. So even for my postdoc, the people that I chose a lot of different places. As you're talking with them, you can see if you're be a good fit for each other, for you to advance your career, but also to develop that relationship. So I've never had to let anyone go as far as mentors. And I've also have other mentors who are not part of what I'm doing. Like I've met at meetings. We keep in contact through email, FaceTime, just to make sure my career is on track. So if you're going to choose a mentor, scope them out from the get-go. And keeping that mentor, it's a two-way street. you kind of want to also be able to help them after you have left the program. So my mentor and I, we still publish for graduate school, we still publish papers together. You know, most of my papers have been since I've been at Emory, us sharing materials. Even my other mentors that I have, like at Tuskegee, we've written papers together, even though we're not near each other. It's just maintaining a good relationship, going out to lunch and just chatting things up and doing different things. The question is, what do you know now that you wish you knew before you started graduate school? What I wish I had known about, one of the biggest things, sorry about that, I never knew about postdoctoral fellowships. I knew that for most people, after they did medical school, you did your residency. For most, especially from where I am, and nobody talks about it, is doing a postdoc. Once I was like getting towards the end of my graduate studies, I was like, okay, time to apply for a job. Everyone's like, no, you apply for a postdoc. No one has told me, and I still, as I'm finishing up my third year, the full purpose of a postdoc. So I wish I had known more about it instead of learning kind of what it is while I'm in it. And this is just my opinion only. Everybody doesn't need a postdoc, but for some people, they need it to gain more training, to gain more applications that you need to go through if you want to write your grants or different things. But I wish I had known more about what happens after you get your PhD. There's not a lot of people who talk about that information. So that's what I wish I had known before, while I was going through graduate school. So this question is, do you feel that your relationship with your peers was competitive or supportive in graduate school? Both. So for me, I'm most competitive with myself, and I'm very confident in myself, which most people saw as I was their competition. And some people think my next statement is arrogant. It's not. I am my worst competition. So whatever I was doing, it was to benefit me, because I had a path to go along. So some people thought they were competing with me. I'm like, that's fine. You can compete, but I'm not competing against you. I am making a path for me to make sure I'm successful for those who are coming behind me. We can work together. We can do what we need to do to advance it. But if that's not your goal, that's fine with me. My postdoc is kind of almost the same thing. I tell people where I am at Emory. I walk on the 3 floors. I'm the only one who looks like me. So for me, there's not as much as support as as far as those who are there who I need to go to. So I do have to take the time to make sure I have support from outside mentors. So I attend a few meetings throughout my research career. Those are my support. They make sure, hey, are you staying on track? Are you getting enough rest, getting enough sleep, doing other things besides your research? So I do have support outside of where I am. And that's one thing I want to make sure that you do. Yes, you're at Spelman, but Spelman is ideal. I did the HBCU experience, but once you step outside that HBCU experience, the real world is there. So you want to make sure you find that supportive system that you can take with you. Okay. So other than this other question, other than academics, what did you gain from your experience in graduate school that you may not have gained going straight into a career? Well, my path was a little different. So I kind of had a career and graduate school. So I think I used my career to tell me where I wanted to go to in graduate school. So for me, teaching and hearing what students needed, and made sure my graduate school path is how I lined it up. Because a lot of people, you notice that, well, for just my opinion, my observation, a lot of people in front who are your teachers in graduate school, most people don't know this. If you have a master's and just need 18 credit hours, you can teach. And it's not always conducive for everybody. So my thought is, why not experience what your students are experiencing, and then also get the training to make sure I can teach at a high level at the graduate school level, at the even at the bachelor's level or the med school level, to make sure I'm giving what I need to give. So I use my career to develop what I want from graduate school. I hope that answers your question. If not, you can let me know. Do I have any specific tips for the graduate school application process? If you're applying, the biggest thing, I don't know how it is much now. Some schools require your GRE. If you're just doing your PhD, pay attention to what they're asking you, especially in the essay. Write to what the essay says. Don't go off on a tangent and using something else. Like, let's say most people have this template for their essays. Make sure your essay answers the question, because most applications are pretty standard, but they do ask that personal question in the essays. Answer them per the school and per the essay. So let's say you want to go to, I don't know, Duke University. I would do my search on Duke University through their graduate page and see what they're looking for, what the students look like, and kind of write my essay toward I'm already a student here, and how would I reflect being a person from Duke. So kind of cater to the school, but also make sure you put your personal portions into it as far as applying. Let's see. And also, don't wait till the last minute as far as applying to graduate school. You know, they have deadlines. Get it in way before the deadline, because usually they're always reviewing. And even when you turn in your application, it's okay to call and ask how to make an earlier presence on the school even before you get there. And that's one thing I actually did for choosing my postdoc experience. I actually went and visited the different schools based on, let's say, I know Emory has a science symposium for graduate students. I would submit an abstract and I would go and present at the symposium. I did the same thing I also interviewed at Columbia University in New York. They had a symposium. Even before I went for my postdoc interviews, I kind of scoped out the school. So I would submit abstracts to go present in different places. I'm presenting my research, but I was also seeing if this was a good fit for me. So they do have a lot for undergrads too. You can, if you're doing research, you can submit abstracts to go small talks on your research to say if this graduate school is for you without first applying to the school. Let's see. We've been on what is that? So what are some outside resources that you believe help you be successful in undergrad and graduate school? Well, you guys' experience is a little bit different than mine. As far as being successful in undergrad, outside resources. Yes, I studied, but I also had a lot more fun. So my outside resources were, I don't know. Well, I can say for graduate school, my outside resources were going to conferences. So going to certain conferences, since I've been in cancer research, I attend like something called like AACR. I think also in undergrad, I forget what it's called. I believe your RISE program goes to. Yeah, so it's usually in November. Those little symposiums, those were like my outside resources of finding out what else is out there for me or what else I can get involved in. So I use other people's experiences as outside resources. I don't know what you're specifically looking for as far as resources. You guys have the internet, so everything is at your fingertips now as far as you wanting to know things. There's something else that I was reading. Was I in any clubs or programs in undergrad? Oh, I had plenty of clubs in undergrad. We had the science club. We also had this, I don't know if you guys have that at Spelman, the Student National Medical Association, where I know as far when I was in medical school and in undergrad, we had that program that I was involved in. So we traveled. I was even an officer in SMNA on the national level that I was involved in. Other programs that I can remember. Used to be called something else before RISE. When I was an undergrad, I was in that type of program. I was also in graduate school. I was in a National Honor Society called Sigma Chi. That allowed me to go to conferences and meet other people. What else did I do? One in particular that I kind of picked up after. One thing that I enjoy now, I didn't enjoy so much as I much so did in undergrad, is in being in my sorority. So I picked it up back after I finished all my schooling. But it's a great way to network with other people who are in my field who are far away. So I keep in contact doing different things in that. I was a busy little program person in undergrad. I traveled quite a bit with my choir. So I did a lot, even though I accomplished a lot. So I always kept myself busy outside academics. Do you have any advice, tips you learn when it comes to managing your time? Yes, I love time management. I'm very different in that, and I wish I could show it to you, but I am big on time management because especially in graduate school, you need to be able to space out your day. So for me, at the beginning of the semester, I actually write down everything I want to accomplish and need to accomplish. And I still do that now. So if I know I need to get out a paper by a certain date, or if I need to, submit an abstract, I actually sit down with the calendar for the entire semester, where it's January to May, and put all those dates in my calendar. And then I actually do what I call a weekly Sunday meeting. So for every about 30 minutes on Sunday, I write down everything I need to do for a week, and I throw it on my calendar. And when I put it on my calendar, I actually block off time to write. I block off time to read. I block off time to go exercise. And I actually also did this in undergrad, and you kind of have it kind of set for you. I knew when my classes were, so that went on my calendar. I knew when I had choir rehearsal, that went in my calendar. And when there was empty space, that was either my time. I also scheduled my study time. So I am big on time management. I take that with me wherever I go. You have to have a schedule, but you also have to be willing to be flexible in your schedule. So I keep a schedule, but there's sometimes you say, hey, take a break. So I am big on managing my time through a calendar, and that's something, if anybody wants to know about it, I don't mind coming back showing you a session on how I actually do it. Because if you go to graduate school, you'll find out everything kind of gets thrown at you like a water hose, no matter what you do. And you have to be able to take the time to organize it so that you actually make it through and hit all your milestones. So we have about 4 minutes left. Anything from anyone else? If not, I don't know if Stephanie or Tana has anything you want to say to the students.
No, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to our students about graduate school.
No problem. If anybody has any more questions about the time management, that's kind of how I live to do anything.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
ma'am. What are some things that you do to like help with your time management and all? Because I know that's like a big thing, like that keeps a lot of students from like doing as well as they could.
Well, like I actually, like literally, give me 1 second. I know I can put my hand on it. Yes. Okay. No, I can't. So, I don't know if everyone can see it, probably not. I live by these. These are my favorite little things. And you actually have to sit down and put everything on your calendar. I don't know. If anybody, I don't know if you guys can see. I'm trying to look for my. Let me take off this virtual background. Okay. I don't know how well you guys can see this, but this is from one of my calendars. I actually take down a calendar and write down all the time of the day. I love sticky notes. And so I'll take sticky notes and write down for that day what I need to do. I even break it down into personal, what I need to do for school, what I need to do for my own special little things. But you have to sit down and actually map out your time. You know what your semester looks like. You know what a thing you want to do daily. You know what you want to do on the weekend. You actually have to map it out. And that's even the same thing in your career. That's why I say find the person who is in their career that you want to follow and ask them, what did you do? How did you do it? So that you can map it out of how you want to go. So I do map out my week. I map out my day. It kind of keeps me on schedule, but I also make sure in my schedule, I'm going to have fun. And you can, some people do this electronically, but I do it on paper because that's what I'm used to. But you can also do it however you need to. Like I put a lot of colors in mine. I think this is January. Colors for different things.
Yes.
But it keeps me on track for what I need to do.
Okay, and so like whenever you don't accomplish something in your that's written down, like how do you go about that? Like if you don't get some things done?
It gets moved to another day.
Okay.
It's okay. That's one thing you have to learn. I am a type A personality, but I have to learn it's okay if it doesn't get done. I want it done on this day, but I can either move it or it'll still be on that's why I say I make a big to-do list from the beginning of the semester. And then I look at it monthly and say, okay, this is what I want to accomplish. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. But there's certain things you have to accomplish. So you have to make sure you figure out what's important and what's not important. So those are things you actually have to figure out for yourself. Like, you know, if you have a paper due like April 30th and you haven't started, but you've known since January and you're just starting on it, that would be something important.
Okay.
So you kind of got to figure out what's important to you and not knock yourself because something didn't get done. It's okay. That's one of the biggest things I had to learn. Okay, it didn't get done today, but is there time in my schedule for the rest of the week that I can put it in? Yes. If not, it gets knocked down to the next list for Sunday for the next week to see if I can get it done.
Okay.
And somebody was saying something else before Brooke's question. So I can, and I'm going to put it here in the chat box, my contact information if you want to hit me with any questions. So I'm giving you my Gmail address if you want to send me with any, oh, I have to send it to everyone. Okay, and I did just put it in the chat box if you want it. And I will put this out there. If anyone is interested in Emory, you know, contact me. I don't know, you know, things are a little different right now, but come check it out. If you want to contact me, I don't know how long this shelter in place, and most of you have gone home if you don't live in Atlanta, to visit. And how many of you have actually visited the graduate department right across the street at Clark Atlanta? You know, you can go visit them. Hopefully some of you, if you're thinking about staying in the Atlanta area and you'll go to medical school, visited right up the street at Morehouse, what, you know, their daily life is like. So take the time to visit what's in your center, because there are people who have gone through the experience. And I don't have anything else. If anyone else has any questions, I did put in my email.
Thank you for talking with us.
You're very much welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes,
Well,
thank you very much.
there's no,
Thank you.
you're very much welcome. And please use my email.
Thank you.